luckily none of you are here yet. So somewhere during my lecture, I'm going to turn the camera around because I need my battery power. Good morning, and I don't have my glasses on. Okay, I'm just waiting for you guys to get here so that you don't miss any part of the lecture. I know that a lot of you are going to watch later on. Okay, hi. Okay, so I am going to speak about the life and times of Charlotte MAXEKE. She is one of the Africa that's in the forefront of activism and social service. And also, our country is one where we tend to erase the contribution of women. So what's happening with Mam Charlotte MAXEKE is that we all know her name, but we don't know anything about her, Like when it comes to the men, we've got Abu Nelson Mandela, we know his whole story, we know Chris Annie's story, we know Steve Biko's stories, but we actually never learn the stories behind the women and our story as women. For a long time, I thought that it was rare to be a woman who's opinionated and who's calling out the men. I thought it was something unique to me, and it's not. It turns out that Mam Charlotte MAXEKE was doing exactly that back in the 1900s, as early as 1901. She was saying, where are the women? We need the women's voices in politics. Why are men speaking for women? Why do men not give women a platform? So, as per tradition, in Africa, the children take on the identity of their parents. And in that regard, Mom Charlotte Manye, she was born Charlotte Manye, was born in, I don't know why I didn't write down, 18 something, late 18s. And she was a Mosotho woman. Her father was Mosotho. But she was born in the Eastern Cape in Fort Beaufort, Pofolo. Her mother was a Xhosa woman. Her father, what I found interesting in her story, the history I'm giving you is based off A.B. Xuma's essay on Mam Charlotte MAXEKE. If you can find it somewhere, it's the A.B. Xuma essay. So, Mam Charlotte's father, it turns out her family, obviously with slavery and colonialism, Black people were very politically conscious and in the struggle already in the 1900s and in the 1800s. So she comes from a family where there was a politically active voice. How we know this is that the father went to Cape Town to go buy guns to kill the Boers. But then when he got to Cape Town, he found a different mission and he found God and found the church. And then when he returned back to his wife and to his community, he was now holding a Bible and it was just like spirituality. And then he started like preaching and stuff. So Mam Charlotte Manye grew up in a Christian home. She was very active in the choir. From what I've read, she was a really, really good girl. Really good girl. She went to church. She was singing in the church choir. She's doing well academically. Very focused young lady. And then when she finished school, her and her family moved to Kimberley. And when she was there, because she was so academic, she started teaching other people and like being a teacher basically. But then what was more, the teaching is here, a bigger gift was her musical gift. She had a very beautiful voice and the community loved her voice and she was singing, and you know how people feel about musicians. So actually Charlotte MAXEKE started off as a musician. So she was singing a lot in Kimberley, and it's nice, and she's a star. Oh, she's a Kimberley diamond there and everything. Then she's doing so well that they plan a tour to England. and they go to England. She's in some musical collective. They go to England, and then it's does very well. They're singing English songs as well as traditional songs. Um, so they also performed for the Queen, and apparently in that engagement, Mam Charlotte Manye was like to the Queen, I actually would also like my people to enjoy music like you're enjoying. Basically speaking to the fact that actually we're out here fighting and stuff, and lucky you, you can just call the musicians to come sing for you. So that's Mam Charlotte Manye in the bean. This is obviously her early 20s. She's in Britain. They do really well on the tour. They come back to South Africa. Then they're like, that was too dope. We need to do it again. So then they organize a bigger tour this time. This time they're going to do America and dun, again Britain. So they go tour. This is the late 1800s, guys. I know we think that we have arrived and things are only now. This is in the 1800s. So they go tour. So when when they're in America, these Black Americans see them in a concert, and then they approach them and they're like, oh my God, where you from? What? And it was like Christian Black Americans who had a church there. And they're like, oh my God, these African children, we can give them the word, we can educate them, and they can go back home and educate their people. So this is the vision of the Black Americans, and they're like, we need to educate these people. We need to educate the African children. So they go to the, because Mom Charlotte, obviously she's like in her like maybe late teens, early 20s now. So they were being chaperoned there. So this American goes to the chaperone, is like, please can we take these children? It's my battery. Please can we take these children, can we keep them on for their education? They can go back to Africa when they finished with their schooling, whatever. Chaperone is like, no, I can't. These are my children. It's a bit intense. But then Charlotte is like, hell, I am going. Mina, I want to stay here and I want to be educated, and I actually feel this. So she was kidnapped. She ran away from the musical group and went off with the Americans. Then the Americans found a place for her in school, and they set her up in at Wilberforce University. They got her admitted. They got her a place to stay. She's staying with the church people. Then obviously she's involved in the church community stuff, and she's studying. And she's studying her natural sciences at Wilberforce University. This is her early 20s. So she finishes her degree, BSc, and then she wants to go back home so she can impart her knowledge. In Africa, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. So she's like, okay, I got what I needed from these Americans. Now I can go back home and like use my voice and educate, especially since she was coming from the outside. There were things that she saw differently, right? Okay. Oh, by the way, when she got the scholarship to Wilberforce, she was part of a group. I think there were three other ones. She was the only female in the group, three other men. She was part of the group that got the scholarship, and Marshall MAXEKE was part of that group. So that's where that romance began. So obviously it's nice, the university. Then Mom Charlotte has to leave at 1901. She finishes her degree, right? So then she goes back to Africa. When she gets to Africa, she lands in the Cape, right? And then she finds that there's the Anglo-Boer War going on. So you can't travel across the country because of the instability in the country. So which means that she's separated from her family. Her family was in Pietersburg. So then she's in Cape Town, in the Cape. She's like, oh, okay, snap, okay. So then she's like, well, let me get started. She starts doing missionary work, and she establishes, I must get the word right, the Women's Might Missionary Society. She starts gathering the women. Charlotte starts gathering the women. Charlotte starts gathering the women, making the women be involved in community service and educating them and helping where she can. And whatever issues come up for women, Charlotte is there. She's the voice of the women. She's mobilizing women. She's mobilizing women, right? When peace was restored in Africa with the Anglo-Boer War, she goes back to her family in Petersburg. Very nice. And Charlotte does not even wait 2 minutes. She starts again, starts mobilizing the women. Charlotte is mobilizing the women in Petersburg. When she got there, because I think she's coming from that Christian background from America, because she was in that setup. So she gets to Petersburg. She realizes that there is a small church, the African Methodist Episcopal, AME, the famous AME. This is the roots of it. And there's only like 8 members, and the village is under the king, and everything goes through the royal family and whatever. Let me just check. Me 10%. Okay. Everything has to go through the royal family. And now here's this educated woman who's coming back into the village, has got all these ideas, and then there's the king, and there's patriarchy, and there's South African men, right? So she's like, snap, okay. But then she starts again. She starts mobilizing the women, starts doing these spiritual gatherings and spiritual groups, starts gathering the women. She even sets up schools. Charlotte sets up schools. She's like, listen, I got my education, whatever. I can actually teach. She sets up schools, and she sets up schools even for the herd boys. So when the boys go Masimini during the day, at night, they come to Charlotte's school to come and learn. So this is Charlotte McClake, guys. This is like in her early 20s, She's back in Petersburg. Okay. Okay, so which means, so I'm telling you about the king and traditional African structures, which means she broke into that and then started mobilizing and then working within that framework. And she does so well that where was it? She does so well that she actually starts spreading. She starts spreading. She starts moving across the country doing this work, setting up missionaries, setting up schools. This is one woman. We're speaking about Mam Charlotte McClake today. She starts setting up things. I mean, she goes to Everton, Klerksdorp, eventually also ending up in the Transkei. So before we even get there, I think it's 1904 or something, her boyfriend finishes school there in Wilberforce and comes back home. So I get it, Charlotte has been busy. She's been busy. He finds her, I get in Petersburg, she started missioning and setting and gathering the women and making sure that the spiritual stuff, she's on it. So when her boyfriend comes back, he comes back to a parish that is flourishing. Like, he didn't even have to work. He didn't have to do any work. The people were already there. Charlotte McClake had already, I'm calling her Charlotte McClake now because now this is where they get married. She's already done the work. So he comes in, baby, set it up for me. It's nice. I just arrived as a man, basically. Charlotte is busy. So then he comes back. Then they become the it couple of social consciousness. And just like people on the ground, they're doing their missionary work. They're doing their political activism work. They're both intellectuals. So they're very committed to academia and learning and teaching. And they're both spiritual leaders. So they're committed to the spirit of Black people as a whole. They start working. They're the it thing. Like Marshall and Charlotte McClake are like Humnat. It's the Holy Trinity. So, and by the way, side note, personal life, I hear she was just as phenomenal in the home as in the community. Like apparently you would get there and her food, because I guess she lived in America for a little bit. So all that soul food stuff she learned. So very warm person, very warm and caring for the community. Exactly what we should be taught what African beauty is. Okay. So okay, so now we're at the part where they're flourishing, they're the heart of the community, you know. That's when they go to Everton now and they set up stuff there. Then they go to Klerksdorp and they set up shop there, you know. And then they go to the Transkei. And it is in the Transkei, that when they've set up there, I think they said they did a school there. And when they set up shop, the king, Dalindyebo, was like, hey, yo, there's some power, yo. Come over here. Can you come set up my own private school also? So then they go and set up his private school, and you know, it's just flourishing. It's flourishing. They're staying there, Nabatembu, and they're giving to the Batembu clan, and the school is running, and the missionary work is done. So exceptional and articulate was Mam Charlotte that in the King's Court, where they discuss village matters and village social justice, there were no women prior to Charlotte McLeod. There were no women. But she stepped up and she was the lone voice, which is unfortunate. Anyways, she stepped up and she was in the, she could speak in the King's Court and the king would actually listen to her. So this is the type of woman we are speaking about. She was very honest and humble and then, okay, so this is now people are living, they're building schools, they're doing their missionary stuff. Then sadly, her husband, she starts getting ill. So they have to move back to Pietersburg. She continues with the women's missionary might stuff. She continues with more work because everything that she had planted back then in her early 20s actually continued. That's why she could move to Everton, to Klerksdorp, because people continued doing what she was doing. So she comes back, she finds it flourishing, whatever. And then an idea that was ahead of its time, the Bantu Women's Organization. She tries to set up a women's organization. And this organization was responsible for women burning passes. I know we've been taught that Mangaliso Sobukwe was the one who was burning passes, so revolutionary. No, actually, it started, the women started that. So the Bantu Women's Organization, the women are there demanding their rights, demanding women's rights, and actually, she died in 1939, but I have no doubt that the March of 1956, the Women's March, its roots began with Charlotte McLeod. So she starts this women's thingy. It was only later. Oh, by the way, let me go back to the beginning of ANC. When ANC was created, Charlotte McLeod was a discerning voice outside asking, why are there no women in your conference to establish this party? No woman in your conference. That's what Charlotte did. There was a conference that they had in Queenstown when she came back in 1901. When she came back from America, there was some conference that the men had in Queenstown, and then they wouldn't let her contribute because she's a woman. But then eventually they let her contribute, and you know what happened in the end? Everybody's just listening to her. She had the most powerful things to say. She had the best ideas. She killed it, basically. So she's always been a voice that always forces itself into the patriarchal space and then speaks the most sense. From the Queenstown Conference, from the King's Court, from even Pietersburg, where she's dealing with her own community. So she's always been that woman. So when Bantu Women's Organization comes up, it's damn part of our history and legacy and what was meant to be. Then I'm going to ANC again because then ANC tried to steal her idea. That's how the ANC Women's League came up. It's from actually Mam Charlotte McClake. And I actually wish they'd acknowledge that openly. That no, we stole Charlotte McClake's idea with this women's movement. And rightfully, she should have been the first president. But anyways, so that is the fire that this woman is. We haven't been hearing who she is. Uh, we just know her name. So I just felt that let's actually unpack the story so you guys know what this woman did. If you want to know where the ANC Women's League coming from and the women's organizations, that's where they're coming. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm gonna have to come closer with these comments. Yes. Yes. I'm so happy. Sadie, you're back. I'm so glad. Okay, cool. So that was the lecture on Charlotte McClake. In the comment section, you are most welcome to add in some of the stuff that you've learned about her, or you knew about her. Everybody who spoke about her warmth and spoke about her service to community. She's known for the quote that forget me, it should be about us. So me moving forward, that's where I'm at. I'm going to erase the meanness and focus on the art. And she also taught us that when you rise, you need to take others with you. Thank you so much for joining the live. And it was so long, but it's the history lesson and it's important. And please do share it and tell people to subscribe. Eventually, I'll get used to YouTube. Sharp, guys. Yo.